Look, Mike Ryan had a dark weekend, okay? Mike Ryan was confident publicly.
A dark money weekend.
He was confident publicly, but privately, the morning all of this was happening, he was dying inside because he's like, what do you think's going to happen if there are 2 spots for 3 teams? It's Alabama, Notre Dame, and Miami. He had all of the persecution complex. But one of the things he did, he pooled money to fly a plane over where it is. Was it Grapevine, Texas, where the committee was meeting? And
that's
also,
a real place.
Didn't you put up billboards as well? Because I said, I wish we'd done that. And Mike Ryan said to me, I did do that.
Yeah,
I did put money into that. And then someone else tried to take credit for it, right?
Yeah. Lifestyle Miami. God, we love them. They own the Chargers in Battle Court. More on that in a moment. But yeah, I was part of a group that did that because head-to-head should matter. And I'm glad that it did. Ultimately, it was ridiculous that it didn't matter for a month. But yeah, all this stuff. It's ridiculous that this stuff is decided in a literal back room with 12 old rich white guys, and they're super,
Condi?
No, not Condi anymore.
I saw one woman though.
There is one woman.
there,
yeah, there is a woman. But they're impressionable. And I told you on Friday's show, people were going to wake up to a whole new world where everyone was all of a sudden going to start stating the obvious. And we had Kirk Herbstreit, we had Nick Saban, you had Urban Meyer, you had Greg McElroy, you had all these people saying head-to-head mattered. And I was really confident entering that Big Ten title game where Mark Ingram, a Heisman Trophy winner for Alabama, is even saying Alabama doesn't belong in here. And I got really worried by how that Alabama game developed because Alabama.
You think the Bama fans are mad?
Dan, Alabama is the first team in the CFP era to not slide whatsoever in the rankings after losing their conference championship game, and they got blown out. They had -3 rushing yards. Miami rushed for more yards on Saturday than Alabama did. BYU slides because they got beaten in a similar fashion, and that's the benefit that benefits Miami. But I can't for the life of me understand why Alabama didn't move down. Notre Dame should feel wrong because they are better than Alabama. They are better than Oklahoma. But the discourse nationally was always about Miami and Notre Dame, and Miami always had the head-to-head.
Did you hire the nightclub plane? Like I'm like on Miami Beach and I see the like at Live tonight or 11 or whatever. Did you literally get the same plane? Because that's what it looks like.
It was very expensive because that plane departed from Opelika.
H2H Batters Miami in feels like a threat, frankly. I mean, like when I say power, Dad, we're living in this time when politicians actively are leaving like their coalitions because they're afraid of the maniacs in their mentions who will send mail to their house and dox them. What Mike Ryan did in this billboard and that plane is basically say, we are going to spend money haunting you if you don't do what we want.
I do believe that Miami argued its way into this over the last month because it's true what Mike is saying, that all the voices were saying this except for Joey Galloway. Joey Galloway says that what just happened is very strange, and it is very strange. It's wrong, and it's going to end the bowl system as you know it. Look, you can't wrong Notre Dame like this and not have major change. One of the great things that I read is that Notre Dame now has it contractually guaranteed that if this happens to them next year again, they're automatically in writing, no matter what it is that they're doing with the system, because they have a contractual clause that if they'd had it this year, can you imagine if they had it this year? Can you imagine how crazy Miami would be if this had already happened last year and Notre Dame had a contractual clause that got them into a violent sports championship round with paperwork? And that's what Notre Dame has now. But when you have the athletic director, Pete Pavakwa, the wording he's using, he's calling it a farce. He's saying it's a shock. He's saying he's in utter disbelief. He's saying they feel like they were punched in the stomach. All of Notre Dame was watching that, waiting to see who they'd play. Notre Dame was sitting in front of the television assuming that this could not happen, that this was not something that was even possible. And I legitimately feel bad for them because they're right. The system is wrong and Notre Dame is right. Notre Dame is better than Oklahoma. Notre Dame is better than Alabama. Notre Dame is better than James Madison. What Notre Dame is not better than is Duke. I am serious when I say, if you told me before the year, here's a riddle. Manny Diaz is going to win an ACC championship before Mario Cristobal does, but Mario Cristobal is going to play for the actual championship that year while Manny Diaz doesn't. I wouldn't have known how to explain it to you. Like, I would not, having seen it happen, I would not have been able to answer the riddle, how does Manny Diaz go 7-5, win the ACC, but Mario Cristobal is the one who gets to play for the championship against Texas A&M? By the way, it probably goes without saying that is by far Miami's toughest game this year. Texas A&M is their next game is their most difficult game. I'm just glad I get to see them play another one. But Notre Dame's yanking its bowl. You see what Notre Dame did? Notre Dame took away the money from the television networks, like took its ball and went home and said, we're not playing in a bowl game.
Yeah.
This is going to end the bowl system.
Oh, I like that take. By the way, so that's how Notre Dame does business, right? They do it like through official legal channels. They're getting rules and policy changes enacted. And Miami does this. They do whatever Mike Ryan's super PAC is doing. And the whole notion, by the way, of like the expansion of the playoff field, something that I just laugh about nationally is when this was announced, it was like, there's not going to be any of the drama because 12 teams is so many, because of course, like who cares about numbers 10, 11, and 12? And here we are arguing, spending dark money because that's now not enough. 12 is not enough. We can expand this field as it happens in March Madness to 64 and still be mad about the 66th team. That is actively the magic of what the college sports system is, which is, by the way, yes, a giant bank that the people who put the most money in Notre Dame are now not understanding. I thought you wanted our money, and now you're not going to get our money. You're going to get Mike Ryan's money. Congratulations.
Amin, what do you have here?
I got a question for Mike. The sign said H2H matters, Miami in. Were they charging you by the character?
Great question.
It seems pretty obvious, yeah. There was another lieutenant in our Air Force that negotiated that deal. I just contributed to a pot.
So those 6 letters, major difference.
I mean, imagine, it's flying from Opelika. You got to cut corners where you can.
It's like the scene from The Three Amigos where this tried to send a telegram to the Three Amigos like it's cost too much. I'll give you the 10 peso version.
I know that because I'm a movie guy.
Do you know what the rejected ones were, Mike? Were there other options? Were you part of the decision-making process on what would it would say on the banner itself?
That was workshop in the group chat, but I just, Venmo'd somebody.
Okay, so H to H matters. Pablo's got this right when he says it did sound like a threat. It sounded a bit, it's from Miami. You know that Miami, generally resorts to thuggery. And I believe that was threatening. You have
it was only slightly less threatening than we know where you live. That's basically what the message is.
We did.
We are single R watching you, single U to save characters.
Yeah, we did know where they lived. But I think that what we saw over the last month, and I think Notre Dame is right to feel bad and feel duped by this TV show, which was...
That's the only thing they have the right to, is to feel duped.
Yeah,
that's it.
They should, but
duped.
I think the real injustice here was that the nation and Notre Dame was led to believe, maybe not for the first release, because Miami was not playing good football when they were ranked behind Notre Dame. Even I said, I understand this one, but if Miami gets it together, we got to right this wrong. And then 2 weeks in, I was like, this is absurd. That's the real injustice here, is that they were led to believe for so long that as it pertains to Miami,
the only injustice.
Head-to-head didn't matter. They could have used 2 weeks to campaign against Oklahoma and Alabama, because I truly believe Notre Dame to be better than those teams. Notre Dame is deserving of a playoff spot. I've said that all along. They're just not more deserving than Miami.
I don't think so. I don't think they're more deserving than any of those teams you just mentioned right there. And the only thing Notre Dame can gripe about is that they were duped. That's it, is that there were people going on television for 4 straight weeks telling you that Notre Dame is in, when the fact of the matter is they shouldn't have been in at that point.
Zaz, they were minus 3,000 on sportsbooks to get in up until that message came out.
You can't say all they have to be upset about is being duped. When have you been duped and not been upset? Like, that's the thing that they're upset about. When Bavakwa is saying that the television show for the last few weeks is a total waste of time, when he's calling this an absolute joke and a farce, there's no disputing of that. Oh, it is. They are absolutely right to feel wronged by this, because duped is you don't play football games to feel duped at the end.
You're right. They can feel wronged, but feel wronged because they got duped, not because they deserve to be in based on merit. They didn't deserve to be in based on merit. The only leg they have to stand on is, you said we were in, and then you told us we weren't. That's it. That's it.
No. I would say the other leg they have to stand on is they've got only 2 losses, while Alabama has 3, and they're two very good teams, and they're very close games, one of them on the road at Miami. Like, that's the leg that you stand on. Alabama's got 3 losses and isn't actually that good. We're better than Alabama. You're giving Alabama credit for a couple of 4th downs that they made against Vanderbilt.
I think the committee did the right thing when it comes to Alabama. First of all, Alabama was the number 1 seed in the SEC, and I cannot roll with the idea that if you lose your conference championship game, you wind up missing the playoffs. I can't roll with it.
To BYU.
Here, let me stop you guys here on this one, okay? This is what's disqualifying. Alabama lost to FSU. That should be disqualifying. FSU won 2 of its last 9 games. FSU has 5 wins this season, 1 against Kent and 1 against East Texas A&M, which is not something I knew existed before I looked it up. Put it on the poll at Batard Show. Did you know there was an East Texas A&M?
How many Texas A&Ms are there?
That's another good question. Put it on the poll as well. How many Texas A&Ms are there, yes or no? When I say to you they lost by 2 touchdowns against FSU, a 5-win team, it's a disqualifying loss. Like, they've got 2 others. They've got 3 losses, and that's more than Notre Dame. But Notre Dame's 2 losses are to 2 teams we would all say are top 10 teams.
But then
I just found a West Texas A&M.
They like their agriculture mechanics out there in Texas.
You were saying, Zaslow?
I just feel like you're then doing the thing where the losses wind up mattering more than the wins. And while FSU's loss to FSU is as bad a loss as there is in the nation, it turns out, in regards to the teams in the top 25, Alabama's wins to me mean a whole lot more. They have great wins on their schedule this year. The wins need to count more than the loss, no?
The way they lost in the championship game, to me, should be something that makes them not be allowed to play any more games this season. Just stop there. The way you lost that game to Georgia, a team you already beat, okay? A team you already beat this season, and you usually do beat. You're the only ones who have beaten Georgia the last few years. And that the way that game went, I don't want to watch that as a playoff team.
To Dan's point, it's absurd that this team did not slide. I don't know what they did to be ranked ahead of Notre Dame in Tuesday's rankings. Yurachek was saying that they over 5-7 Auburn, they went for a couple 4th downs, and the committee was really impressed by that. You have 0 precedent for a team losing, especially that badly in their conference title game, and not moving. They were slotted. They were telling us at the committee the big debate wasn't Miami Notre Dame all season long. It was Alabama Notre Dame. I don't know, even though Notre Dame is idle, I don't know how Alabama doesn't fall a spot. And then, maybe Miami doesn't.
Well, it's because falling a spot means they don't get into the playoff.
My whole concern was that they were just going to use Alabama as this BS buffer team because they introduced this season the notion of direct side-by-side comparison as to where head-to-head only matters.
Although that's not what they were telling us for the last month, right?
No, it was absurd. I understand why Notre Dame fans are pissed. To their credit, no one's really saying Notre Dame should get in over Miami. Even Shane Gillis was like, I was kind of privately hoping that they would just screw Miami and we'd get in. They knew they didn't have a winning hand there. It just sucks that they didn't have the ample time to mobilize and campaign against the likes of Alabama and Oklahoma, Pablo.
So the key part of any debate, if you actually want to resolve the debate with an agreed upon winner, is to define the terms of the debate. And the committee just never actually consistently defines them, which is why on the back end you can have endless and understandable feeling of dupedness. Everybody feels on some level like they got scammed. Even people who got in are like, wait a minute, why are we matched up? Why are we doing 2 rematches, by the way, of regular season games that we've already seen? The thing that I'm curious about when it comes to how Miami feels, though, is do you guys want the system to change? What would you actually do differently? Because politically and economically, the reason I laugh about the planes and all of Mike Ryan's dark money is because there is no actual pressure for any reform. The games are going to be self-evidently, right? College football, the number 2 most popular sport in the country.
But when Notre Dame says this in this voice, there is now pressure for reform. This will cause that pressure.
Well, but that's an open question to me because they are alone and they are historically singular when it comes to having individually measured economic pressure because they're not in a conference. But other than that, everyone's going to watch the games. And from a big picture perspective, like, are people gonna actually agitate for revolt? Like, is that... It just feels like this exercise that happens not by design, because that's giving them too much credit, but it just happens because, of course, it's going to happen this way. And so does Miami want anything to change next year? Is there actual, like, suggestion on how to make the system different?
The system remains stupid. Notre Dame is being so petty about its reaction to this that they're denying themselves $4 million, and they're denying their players another game that they may have wanted. There are seniors there who might have thought that they did not play their last game and now do not get the bowl experience, and they're doing that strictly to punish the television networks, the partners, and to allow their dismay to be shown.
To be measured.
Yes, to be measured. $4 million is not a small amount of money for Notre Dame. I mean, maybe it is for Notre Dame. It's not a small amount of money to give up on a principle. But lest you think that Mike Ryan is sane, okay, because you talk about his dark money funding of propaganda that did indeed argue Miami into the final games, this is the text I got at the beginning of that morning. I don't see any light. 2 spots, 3 programs. Guess which one they're going to bleep? December 7th, a date which will live in infamy. That is the last text I received from Mike Ryan. Mike, take me through your darkness and how it is you're crawling around nude on your bathroom floor and then collapsed in the fetal position around the toilet before the committee saved you.
Saturday was going according to plan, and the one thing that I couldn't account for was Alabama being defeated that soundly for Miami to have more rushing yards than Alabama on Saturday. I didn't account for that, and then I started getting really worried because the committee had already established if you lose your conference title game, there's always going to be some sort of punitive measure, and this is the first time that they decided no in what was probably the most lopsided example in conference title history. Yeah, there's a persecution complex, but I think it's deserved when it comes to Miami fans. They had normalized the most ridiculous thing for a month. I do want to give credit to the Notre Dame fans because they kind of know that they didn't really have a hand there when it came to Miami, and I understand why they're pulling the rug out from anybody that was excited to watch a Pop-Tart Bowl and say Notre Dame is not going to compete in this. I didn't want to compete in that joke of a bowl game where they make you a punchline, but I do also...
I went last year. That game's fun. How dare you?
I think for Notre Dame specifically, that decision, there's probably more to it than just like hurt feelings. I think a lot of players are going to opt out because it's not important. And if you look at the schools that have opted out of bowl games, you have Kansas State and Iowa State, teams that have change at the head coaching position. And I happen to know like that is a possibility here with Marcus Freeman.
What?
Yeah.
What?
He happens to know?
Happen to know?
Great Scott! He happens to know. He happens to know. Gather everyone. Get the children. He happens to know. So wise.
Watch out for the New York Giants here. I think now that Marcus Freeman's season is over early, he generated a lot of interest last year, but Notre Dame kept pushing on and had a shot at a national title. Now that they are not in this college football playoff picture, his name, as Adam Schefter already alluded to, is going to be the hottest in New York circles. There's some Notre Dame ties there with the New York Giants, and I don't think we can discount that as looming over this entire opting out of the bowl game thing.
How does that wind up looking, Mike, if Marcus Freeman, if you're right, he does wind up taking the Giants job, but they opted out of playing a bowl game, and now he's available to go talk to, like, that winds up looking kind of shady, though,
I think there's going to be a lot of evidence that you can piece together if Marcus Freeman does move on. I know he loves Notre Dame. He's not just going to leave for any job. He's not just going to leave for any NFL job. And he probably wouldn't entertain it if they were positioned for a deep run in the college football playoff. But my man was in New York last week. And while I haven't been able to confirm this through multiple sources, I have it on good authority that there have been conversations from the New York Giants to Marcus Freeman surrounding that head coaching job, and it wouldn't surprise me that the specter of him leaving is also one of the deciding factors here than just we got screwed and we got left out, so we're taking our ball and going home.
You know about that specter?
I'm getting to it.
Dan, to piggyback off of Mike Ryan's Notre Dame topic, can you go back really quick and talk about the contract that Notre Dame signed that says basically, hey, we're in the playoff anytime there's some sort of situation like that? Like, how do they get to do that?
I couldn't believe it when I read it. I was confused by it, and I want more details. I haven't done any reporting on it beyond that. I just know that if they're in the top 12 next year, they're guaranteed a spot no matter what the committee is talking about. I don't know how it is that they ended up getting that contract clause. It's a good question that you're asking. I would assume that a lot of people would want that clause.
I'm on it. I do have an update though when it comes to where Marcus Freeman is going. I have just found out that there is a Texas A&M University at Qatar.
That's a fine.
It's a real fact, by the way. That's an actual thing.
How many Texas A&Ms are there? Have you gotten the answer to how many Texas A&Ms there are?
I'm still scrolling.
Can I explain to people just very briefly what kind of insane space Mike has been occupying recently when he spits at you in the matter of a few minutes? Even Shane Gillis says,
I was going to comment on that. Like, this is how the sausage is made, actually. It's on Instagram.
Even Mark Ingram and Shane Gillis say he's just looking for allies wherever it is that he can find them anywhere in the world.